Imperial measurements of length. We'll take a little longer with this. You're not as familiar with these, surely. Examine the bottom scale on the ruler. From the leftmost marking to the rightmost marking, the length is 1 foot. Each large increment is 1 inch long. How many inches in 1 foot? There are 12. On the ruler, each inch past the first inch is divided into smaller increments. How many units is each inch divided into? Okay, I'm sort of hoping it's 8. But it could be 16. And the first inch could be 16 or 32. Therefore, each unit represents what fraction of an inch? 1/8 or 1/16. I haven't really seen the rulers we have, and they may vary, so. Use this ruler to measure the length and width of your textbook as precisely as you can. Express your answer as a reduced fraction. So, in Imperial, we give whole inches and then fractions. So the length is 11 1/8 of an inch, and the width is 8 1/2. And fractions we give in inches will be eighths and sixteenths and quarters and halves, all powers of 2, 2 halves, 4 quarters, etc. Examine the yardstick. Really it's a meter stick, but in the old days we called them yardsticks because they were yards. How many inches are in 1 yard? Okay, there are 36. And how many feet are in 1 yard? A foot is 12 inches, so there are 3. Larger lengths. What imperial unit is used to measure longer distances? Okay, this we all know. It's miles. How many yards are in 1 mile? There are 1,760. When I went to school, you had to know that. And how many feet? 3 times as many, 5,280. And when I went to school, you had to know that. Reference. If you look at the width of your thumbnail, of course, that all depends on your size, so you might want to measure it. Sometimes you could go from tip of thumb to first joint. So take the ruler and give it a try and see where on you there is 1 inch. If you ever have to estimate an inch, you'll have a referent. A foot, your foot. Now, obviously feet come in all different sizes. You might want to measure that just to see how close or far, and if your foot is 10 inches, then you can just add a couple of inches to it when you put it down to measure a foot. Or how could be the length from wrist to elbow. Which is not a cubit. And you can look up cubit if you want, C-U-B-I-T. A yard, width of a doorway. Usually an external or doorway or an inside doorway in a building, and sometimes your doorways to your bedroom or stuff like that at home may not quite be a yard. Or 1 walking stride. When you're walking, the length of your stride may be a yard, or you might have to stretch things out a bit and you can get a yard out of it. A mile. Miles, 15 to 20 blocks. City blocks. Not many places we could do that in this city, though. Or it's the distance that you could jog in 10 minutes. Those are going to say 10-minute jog. It might correspond to a 20-minute run or something. State the imperial unit that is best to measure the length of a ski run. Well, ski run you'll probably measure in yards. Height of a room, feet. Dimensions of your calculator, inches. Let's say foot. Yard, inch. There. Conversions. 1 mile is 1,760 yards. 1 yard is 3 feet. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. Okay, you can see that 1 mile multiplied by 1760, 1 yard multiplied by 3 to get feet. You would have to multiply these two together to get that, and 1 foot is 12 inches. According to the highway sign, the next turnoff is 3 1/4 miles. Yay, Imperial, right? 3.25. Determine the distance to the turnoff in yards. Okay, show your work. So we're going to start with 3.25 miles. Now, I want to get 1 mile on the bottom, so I can cross this off, and a mile is 1,760 yards. So we do this, and we get 5,720 yards. In feet, well, we can either take this and multiply it by 3 feet in 1 yard, canceling the yards off, giving us, or we can do it this way, we can go 3.25 miles times, again, 1 mile is 5,280 feet. We get to cross these two guys off, multiply, and same number in both cases, right? It's 17160 feet. Right, and hey, no big pauses here, right? You want to pause, hit pause. School council has 6 yards of fabric that will be cut into strips 5 inches wide. Again, yay, Imperial, because you're always having to change units. So 6 yards, and I want to get that into inches. So we could go 3 feet in 1 yard. And to get to inches, I need feet on the bottom because I want to cancel, and 1 foot is 12 inches, so that gives me 6 times 3 times 12, which is 216 inches, abbreviation for inches, double quote. Each banner is 5, so 216 divided by 5 is 43.2, so they can make 43 banners. Right, not much we can do with 0.2 of a banner. Almost there. Sam wanted to put wood trim around 4 windows. Each window is 40 inches long and 30 inches tall. I'll just draw that. Yeah, whatever. So we've got 40 plus 30 plus 40 plus 30. So how many inches of trim do we need? It's the perimeter of a rectangle, which can be written as 2 times L plus W, or some people write it as 2L plus 2W, in which case then we can back up to get this. So perimeter is 2 times 40 plus 30, which is 140 inches. Convert the answer into feet and inches. So we got to say, how many 12s are there in 140? Because that's going to be the feet. So 140 divided by 12 is 11.6 repeating. Okay, forget about the 0.6. We are only interested in the 11. So we have 11 feet. But 11 feet is 132 inches. And we want 140, so there's 8 inches left over, so it's 11 feet 8 inches, or you may see it written like this, 11 feet 8 inches, same thing. Wood trim is sold by the foot and costs $1.79 a foot, so we can't buy 11 feet 8 inches, we're going to have to buy 12 feet. So in this case, we're forced to kind of round up to the nearest foot. So it's going to be 12 feet. We need 12 feet. So it's going to be 12 times $1.79, which is $21.48. pre-tax, right? Or maybe that's not taxed. I don't know. You know, they didn't tell us to add the GST. We're just going to go with $21.48. Maps. Maps have scales. And what the scale means this is a distance of 1 unit on the map is equivalent to 3,500,000 units on the ground. Doesn't matter what these units are. If it's 1 foot on the map, it's 3,500,000 feet. If it's 1 centimeter on the map, it's 3,500,000 centimeters. These are just in the same measuring system. So, in this case, because we're dealing with inches, right, this 4.5 inches. So 1 inch on the map is 3,500,000 inches on the ground, which sounds like a lot and isn't insubstantial, but how much is it really? So we're going to figure out to the nearest mile how far apart these cities are. So if I have 4.5 inches on the map, then I'm going to go 4.5 times 3,500,000, which gives me 15,700,000 inches. Conversion time, 15,700,000 inches. Okay, well, I know that 1 foot is 12 inches, and the deal here is get inches top and bottom where they can cancel, and then I know that there are so I need feet on the bottom to cancel, and I want miles, so 1 mile is 5,280 feet, and I do have a conversion, right? Otherwise we may have had to go from feet to yards and then yards to miles, but we have a direct conversion, miles to feet, so we can use that. And we multiply this out, and rounding to the nearest mile we get 249 miles. So not quite as far apart as Calgary and Edmonton, but pretty close. Last one. 2 towns are 18, it's kind of a reversal of this. 2 towns are 18 miles apart. That's ground, but on the map they are 1 7/16 inches apart. Determine the scale to the nearest 100,000. So we're going to have to convert 18 miles to inches, or 1 7/16 inches to miles, which is not a good idea. But 18 miles to inches is. Which is going to be a fairly big number, but okay, so we have 18 miles. I can go from miles to feet. I put miles on the bottom, feet up top, 1 mile, 5,280 feet. Okay, miles are gone. This measurement, when I multiply this out, will now be in feet, but I want inches, so I put inches up top, feet on the bottom. We know that 12 inches is 1 foot. This top bottom, although they're different units, they are equivalent. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. 1 foot is 12 inches. Multiply it out, and we get 1,140,480 inches. So we know that 1 7/16 inches on the map is equal to 1,140,480 inches on the ground. To get a scale, we just want to have, we don't want 1 7/16, we want 1. 1 to what? So we're going to divide this by 1 7/16, giving us 1, and divide this by 1 7/16. Okay, and here I'll do that for you, or I'll do that with you. Get your calculator out. 1,000,000, let's just go back and do the whole thing. Clear, clear, clear. 18 times 5,280 times 12. Okay, there's our 1,000,000 words, right? Divided by 1 and, or plus, right, 7 divided by 16. Okay, I don't need to explicitly work it out. I can let the calculator do that. Rounding to the nearest 100,000, right? So that's rounding to this place here. That's a 3, so it'll be 793,000. So 1 to 793,000, right? And that's rounded to the nearest 100,000, and that's imperial. And you got work to do, right? Especially in imperial, you know, appropriate unit, blah, blah, blah. Take a look at the homework, okay? And make sure that you get it all done. All of it, please. You need to.